Hello viewers, welcome to today's episode of our discussions on this channel. And today I am going to take you through the first chapter of the analysis of Fathers of Nations, which is one of the set books examined in our high school curriculum. Basically, I am going to handle the first episode of the first chapter because that chapter has several episodes. In the first episode, I labeled it checking in because the narrator takes us through the checking in process of four people who are checking in at the Seamount Hotel in Banjul. He doesn't reveal so much about these people, especially with regards to what has brought them here. So it is some kind of some suspense. We just meet them checking in and some basic introductory information is given about them, but not very much is revealed. So we will want to always read ahead and know who these people are and why they are checking in at the Seamount Hotel. So as they check in, the narrator tells us that no one knows about the other. No one knows that the other has come in for this purpose or for the same purpose, and no one knows the name of the other person and whether that person was checking in. So the hotel assigns them different rooms, and it also assigns them these rooms on different wings of the Seamount Hotel. We don't know why. The first person to check in is about 60 years of age, and the description information given, because the narrator gives a lot of descriptive information about them as they check in. His hairline had retreated all the way to his crown, but it stopped there, and there was no more hair loss. And this man had a strange habit of smacking his lips as he talked. And as he smacked his lips, he appeared to be shaping each word before he finally voiced the word. As he registered at the front desk, he wrote his name as Kimani Karanja, a professor in the Institute of Development Studies at the University of Nairobi in Kenya. And he was given a room on the 4th floor of the East Wing. The second person to check in is slightly older than Professor Kimani, and he is about 70 years plus. He's about 70 years. The vivid description given is that he had a bushy mustache which wriggled over his mouth whenever he spoke, and the narrator uses a simile. The purpose of a simile usually is to also help us create a mental image of how the thing or the person described looks like. That this mustache wriggled over his mouth whenever he spoke, like a moth that was fighting to free its wings, then fly away. So we can imagine a moth that is held somewhere and it is fighting to free itself and then fly away. This person registered as Ngobile Melusi, a comrade and citizen of Zimbabwe. Under the blank for his occupation, he wrote not applicable, to mean he didn't have a job or he was jobless. He was assigned a room on the 5th floor of the South Wing of the Seamount Hotel. Another person, the third one now, also checked in. He was younger than the first two, aged about 50 years. His descriptive information is that he is big and flabby, and he looked like a failed sumo wrestler. That is another simile that wants us to create a mental image of a sumo wrestler that failed. We can just imagine how he may look like. Though the narrator goes on to say that this feature of looking like a failed sumo wrestler was not visible because he had hidden it or buried it in loose robes topped with one of those cone-like capes that always flop to the left side by design and not by flow, some kind of fashion, not just by mistake. There was something about his eyes, and he says his eyes narrowed into slits whenever he relaxed. They narrowed further whenever he smiled, and completely vanished when he laughed. That is how his eyes behaved. It is just some vivid description to help us imagine how this person looks like. And then the narrator deliberately avoids revealing his identity at the beginning and only reveals it at the end, some kind of suspense. He says that on the registration card, this new entrant registered as Chineke Chamaka, a pastor at the church inside Africa, or in short, CIA. He was assigned a room on the 6th floor of the West Wing. Then the youngest of the four men who checked in now also checks in. He's aged about 40 plus, and from his walk, we see an image of a rebellious person. The narrator says his motion was powered by rebellion against someone or something, and he says this using a rhetorical question. Specifically, he says, was it a gesture of protest against someone or something? So this rhetorical question at the beginning of the story also creates some suspense, because as readers, we will want to read on and see whether his work or his behavior in general had anything to do with protesting against someone or something. And as we shall read on, we will confirm that indeed this was a rebellious person. He registered as an engineer, formerly of the Ministry of Defense in Tripoli, Libya. And he was assigned a room on the 3rd floor of the North Wing. So that episode ends when we at least have some information about these 4 men, but we don't know what their mission is. We don't know whether they'll meet and get to know each other, get to have a sit down and know why they are all here or not. So it leaves us in some suspense as we await to see whether enough information about them will be revealed in the next episode or not. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel for more analysis of set texts and other literary works.